Chapter 9 Dune in the Roped Off Tunnel. Lena saw Dune immediately. He was reaching up to set the book back up on its shelf. He saw her too. When he turned around, his dark eyebrows flew up in surprise as she hurried over to him. "Your father told me that you were here," she said. "Dune, I found something. I want to show it to you." "To me? Why?" "I think it's important. It has to do something with the pipeworks. Will you come into my house and see it?" "Now?" Dune asked. Lena nodded. Dune grabbed his own brown jacket and followed Lena out of the library and across to the Quilliam Square. Granny's shop was closed and dark when they arrived, so Lena was surprised when they went upstairs and saw Evelyn Murata sitting in her place at the window. "Your grandmother's in her bedroom," Miss Murata said. "She didn't feel well, so she asked me to come." Poppy was sitting on the floor banging a spoon on the leg of a chair. Lena introduced Dune, then led him into her room and she shared with Poppy. He looked around and Lena felt suddenly self-conscious seeing a room with her through his eyes. It was a small room with a lot crammed into it. There was 2 narrow beds, a very small table that could fit into a corner, and a 4-legged stool to sit on. On the wall, clothes hung from hooks, and more clothes were strewn unsteadily on the floor. Beneath the window was a brown stain made by the bean seed pot in the windowsill. Lena had been watering it every night because she promised Clary she would, but still nothing but dirt, flat and unpromising. A couple of shelves beside the window held Lena's important possessions. Pieces of paper she'd collected for drawing, her pencils, and a scarf. But the silver thread woven through it went on the parts of the wall that she had no hooks, no shelf, and pinned up some of her pictures. "What are those?" Dude asked. "They're from my imagination," Lena said, feeling slightly embarrassed. "They're pictures of another city?" "Oh, you made it up." "Sort of. Sometimes I dream of it." "I draw too," said Dune, "but I draw other kinds of things." "Like what?" "Mostly insects," said Dune. He told her about his collection of drawings and the worm he was currently observing. To Lena, this sounded far less interesting than an undiscovered city, but she didn't say so. She led Dune to the other table. "Here's what I want to show you," she said. She lifted the metal box before she could reach for the papers underneath. Dune took the box and started examining it. "Where did it come from?" he asked. "It was in the closet," Lena asked. She told him about Granny's wild search and about finding the box, the lid open, and Poppy with the paper in her mouth. As she talked, Dune turned the box over in his hands and opened its closed its lid, and its period latched. "There's some sort of odd mechanism here," he said. He tapped the small metal compartment in the front of the box. "I'd like to see inside of this." "Here's what was in the box," Lena said, lifting the covered paper and the pipework scrap. "At least what was left in here, or what was in here." Dune bent over, and his hands on either side of the paper. Lena said, "It's called the Instructions for Egersman, or maybe Eggersman, someone's name. Anyhow, maybe a mayor or guard. I just call it the Instructions. I told the mayor about it. I thought maybe it would be important. I wrote him a note. He hasn't answered. I don't think he's interested." Dune said nothing. "You don't have to hold your breath," said Lena. I glued the pieces down. Look, she said, pointing. This must be the pipeworks. And this one the river. And look, this one, door. Dune didn't answer. His hair had fallen forward so Lena couldn't see his expression on his face. I thought at first, and Lena went on, that it must be in the instructions how to do something, how to fix electricity maybe. But then I thought, what if it's instructions for going to another place? Dune said nothing, so Lena went on. I mean, someplace that isn't here, like another city. I think these instructions say, go down into the pipeworks and look for a door. Dune brushed his hair back from his face, but he didn't straighten up. He gazed at the broken words and frowned. Edge, he murmured, a small steel pan. What would that mean? A frying pan, Lena said. But I don't know why there'd be a frying pan in the pipeworks. But Dune didn't answer. He seemed to be talking to himself. He kept reading and moved a finger along the lines of the words. Open, he whispered. Follow. Finally, he turned to look at Lena. I think you're right, he said. I think this is important. Oh, I was sure you'd think so, Lena cried. She was so relieved that the words poured out in a rush. Because you take things seriously. You told the truth to the mayor on assignment day. I didn't want to believe it. And then I came to the long blackout, and I knew things were bad for you. You said. She stopped, breathless. She pointed at the word of the document. This door, she said. It has to be a door that leads out of Ember. I don't know, said Dune. Maybe, or it's a door that leads to something important, even if it isn't that. But it must be that. What else could be important enough to lock up in a fancy box? Well, I suppose it could be a storage room with some special tools in it or something. A look of surprise came over his face. Actually, I saw a door where I didn't expect to see one. In tunnel 351. It was locked, though an old supply closet. I wonder what that could be. It must be, Lena cried. Her heart sped up. It wasn't anywhere in the river. It wasn't anywhere near the river, Dune said doubtfully. It doesn't matter, Lena said. The river goes through the pipework. That's all. It's probably something like go down to the river and then this way and that way. Maybe, said Dune. It must be, Lena cried. I know it is. The door leads out of Ember. I don't know if that makes sense, said Dune. A door in the pipeworks could only lead to something underground. How could that? Lena had no patience for Dune's reasoning. She wanted to dance around the room like she was so excited. We have to find out, she said. We have to find out the right way. Dune looked startled. Well, I can go and try the door again, he said. It was locked before, but I'll try, I suppose. I want to go too, said Lena. You want to come down into the pipeworks? Yes, can you get me in? Dune thought for a moment. I think I can if you come down quitting time. I'll wait outside the door. I'll stay out of sight until everyone has gone. I'll let you in tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow. Lena stopped at home the next day, only long enough to change out of her messenger jacket. Then she dashed across town to the pipeworks. Dune had met her just outside the door, and she followed him inside, where she handed her a slicker boots to put on. They descended a long stairway and then came out of the main tunnel. Lena stood still, staring at the river. I didn't know the river was so big, she said after she found her voice. Yes, said Dune. Every few years they say someone falls in. If you fall in, there's no hope of fishing you out. The river swallows you and sweeps you away. Lena shivered. It was cold down here. It was cold that she felt all the way through. Cold flesh, cold blood, cold bones. Dune led her up the path beside the water. After a while, they came to an opening in the wall. They turned into it and left the river behind. Dune led away through his winding tunnels. The rubber boots splashed in pools of water onto the floor. Lena thought how awful it would be to work down here all day, every day. It was a creepy place, a place where it seemed people didn't belong. The Black River, it was like something in a bad dream. You have to dock here, said Doom. They came to a roped-off tunnel, but there's no light in here. But there's no light in here, Lena said. Nope, said Doom. We have to feel our way. It isn't that far. He ducked under the rope and went in. Lena did the same. They stepped forward into the dark. Lena kept a hand against the damp wall and placed her feet carefully. It's right here, said Dune. He'd stop a few feet ahead of Lena. She came up behind him. Put your hands out. You feel it? Lena felt a smooth, hard surface. There was a round metal knob, and below the knob a keyhole. It seemed like an ordinary door, but like all the entrance to a new world, but was made out of things so exciting. Nothing was ever the way you expected it to be. Let's try, she whispered. Dune took a hold of the knob and twisted. Locked, he said. Is there a pan anywhere? A pan? The instructions said a small steel pan. Maybe that would have the key in it. They felt around, but there was nothing. Just rocky walls. They patted the walls, putting their ears, and pushed it. Finally, Dune said, well, we can't get in, I guess. We'd better go. And that's when they heard that noise. It was scuffling, scraping noise. It seemed to be coming from somewhere nearby. Lena stopped breathing. She clutched Dune's arm. Quick! Dune whispered. He made his way back toward the lighted tunnel, Lena following. They ducked under the rope in a rounded turn, then stood still and listened to a harsh scraping sound, a thud, a pause, and then a sound of an impact, a short explosive breath, and muttered a word in a gruff, low voice. Then slowed. Getting closer, they flattened themselves against the wall and stood motionless. The footsteps stopped. Briefly, another grunt, and then the steps continued, but they seemed to be fading. In a moment, from a distance, there was another sound, a clink of a key turning in a lock, and then a latch opening. Lena made an astonished face at Dune. Someone had gone in the rope tunnel and opened the door. She put her mouth close to Dune's ear. We shall try to see who it is, she whispered. Dune shook his head. I don't think we should. He said we should go. We should just peek around the corner. It was too tempting not to try. They crept forward to the place where the tunnel turned. From there they could breathe. Holding their breath, they watched. In a minute, they heard a thumb click in the door closing. A locked tunnel, and the footsteps were once again, this time quick. A long leg stepped over the rope. A person belonged to them turned and walked away. They saw his back, a dark coat, a dark untidy hair. He walked in a lurching motion that struck Lena somehow familiar. In a few seconds, he had vanished into the shadows. When he came up out of the pipeworks. They stripped off their boots and their slickers and hurried out of the plumber's square. They flopped down into a bench and burst into furious talk. "Someone got there before us," said Lena. Dean said. He was walking slowly, and then he went in as he was looking for something, and then walked fast and came out as if he found something. "What was it? I can't stand not to know." June jumped up. He placed his back forth in front of the bench. "But how did he get a key?" he asked. "Did he find the instructions just like the ones you found? And how did he get to the pipeworks? I don't think he works there." "There's something familiar about the way he walks," said Lena, "but I don't know why." "Well, anyhow, open the door." "He can't," said Dune. "Let's go somewhere that does lead out of Ember. He'll be telling the whole city pretty soon. He'll be a hero." Dune sat down again. If he found a way out, he'd be glad, of course, but he said grumly, "It doesn't matter who finds it as long as it helps the city." "That's right," Lena said. "It's just that I thought we were going to find it," said Dune. "Yes," Lena said. How grand would it have been to stand before of all Ember announcing the discovery. They sat without talking for a while. They lost their own thoughts, and a man pulling a cart full of wood scraps went by. A woman leaned in and light from the window in the Grappery Square and called out some boys playing in the square below. A couple of guards in their red-brown uniforms ambled across the square, laughing. The town clock ran out six deep brooms, and Lena could feel her shudders beneath her rooms. Dune said, "I guess we do now is wait and see if there's an announcement." "I guess so," said Lena. "Maybe the door is nothing special after all," said Dune. "Maybe it's just an old unsteady supply closet." But Lena wasn't ready to believe that. Maybe it wasn't a door out of Ember. But the mystery is nevertheless a mystery continued. She wasn't sure if the mystery was bigger they were trying to solve. So she snuck into the pipeworks. Later that night, she had pickpocketed Dune. She had gone down, and there the man was. He stood tall, about 5'6", and then she immediately noticed who he was. End.